Good morning. Thank you, Senator. Or afternoon, sorry. Good afternoon. The hour of convening has arrived and the Senate will now come to order. I'd like to ask that all unauthorized persons exit our chamber at this time. It's my honor to recognize the well-rested Senator from Chickamauga.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a little loud there, but it's a great day at our Capitol. It's a little weathery, but we'll make it through it. A moment in history in 1890. William B. Hartsfield was born today and served 23 years as mayor. And as you know, the airport is partially named after him. He was a great leader in this town. Also, today is PB&J Day at the Capitol, and you can get your grilled PB&J at the Twin Towers. Never heard of that till I was elected and came here, and they're delicious. And I'm an expert on delicious food. The journal's been read and found to be correct, Mr. President.
You were well prepared for today. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 269 by Senators Harrell of the 40th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to change the matter of selection. Senate Bill 270 by Senators Davenport of the 44th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the OCGA relating to health so as to provide for a pilot program to fund rural
Health and Human Services.
Senate Resolution 166 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others, a resolution urging members of the United States Congress to enact federal legislation granting statehood to the people of
Rules.
Senate Resolution 167 by Senators Beach of the 21st and others, a resolution commending Taiwan for its relations with the United States and the state of Georgia.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 168 by Senators Butler of the 55th and others, a resolution to ratify an amendment to the United States Constitution and for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 169 by Senators Butler of the 55th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Shoreline Protection Study Committee and for other purposes.
Rules.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 152 by Representatives Wydower of the 119th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1A of Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to non-public post-secondary educational institutions.
Higher ed.
House Bill 253 by Representative Holmes of the 129th, a bill to be entitled an act to create the Jones County Public Facilities Authority.
State and local government.
House Bill 271 by Representatives Reeves of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to licenses for emergency medical services so as to authorize. House Bill 275 by Representatives McDonald of the 26th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 25 and Article 3 of Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to general provisions relative to firefighter standards
Public
and training.
safety.
House Bill 289 by Representatives Belton of the 112th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to issuance, expiration, and renewal of
Public
driver's.
safety.
House Bill 336 by Representatives Corbett of the 174th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 23 of Title 1 of the OCGA relating to hemp farming so as to provide for compliance with federal laws and regulations.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 338 by Representatives Deloach of the 167th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-5-36 of the OCGA relating to veterans licenses, honorary licenses, and other distinctive
Veterans,
drivers.
Military, and Homeland Security.
House Bill 370 by Representatives Jones of the 47th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to county and municipal.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 384 by Representatives Dollar of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 40 of the OCGA relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to provide for the issuance of traffic citation to a vehicle owner.
Special Judiciary.
House Bill 395 by Representatives Belton of the 112th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 10A of Title 43 of the OCGA relating to professional counselors, social workers,
Health
and
and
marriage.
Human Services.
House Bill 409 by Representatives Gunter of the 8th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 15 of Title 45 of the OCGA relating to counsel for public officials and agencies so as to provide for
Government oversight.
House Bill 437 by Representatives Howard of the 124th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to general provisions applicable to counties and
Regulated industries.
House Bill 445 by Representatives Bruce of the 61st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to incorporate the city of South Fulton in Fulton County, Georgia, approved April 26, 2016, as amended.
State and local government.
House Bill 449 by Representative Smith of the 133rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 25 of the OCGA relating to blasting or excavating near utility facilities so as to revise.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 458 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 34 of Title 43 of the OCGA relating to
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 488 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the OCGA relating to courts so as to provide for an increase in the minimum compensation for chief.
State and local government general.
House Bill 509 by Representatives Gaines of the 117th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 30 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to general provisions relative to group or blanket accident and sickness insurance.
Insurance and labor.
House Bill 535 by Representative Yurda of the 152nd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Sylvester, approved May 13, 2008, so as to authorize the city to provide.
State and local government.
House Bill 546 by Representative Stevens of the 164th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Richmond Hill to provide for incorporation, boundaries, and powers of the city.
State and local government.
House Bill 560 by Representatives Taylor of the 173rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Thomas County, approved December 1st.
State and local government.
House Bill 595 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Clay County.
State and
approved.
local government.
House Bill 600 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Hapeville, Georgia, approved March 25th, 1980, as amended so as to revise provisions.
State and local government.
House Bill 603 by Representative Meeks of the 178th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Brantley County, approved July 21st.
State and local government.
House Bill 610 by Representatives Dickey of the 140th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide for the restructuring of the city of Macon, the city of Payne City, and Bibb
State and
County.
local government.
House Bill 613 by Representatives Blackmon of the 146th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Perry to levy an excise
State and local
tax.
government.
House Bill 614 by Representatives Mathika of the 73rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to revise certain provisions governing the Griffin Judicial Circuit to revise the method for
State and
assignment.
local government.
This completes the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read reports of standing committees?
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Economic Development has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 255, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Thompson of the 14th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 153, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 246, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 72, do pass. Senate Bill 74, do pass. Senate Bill 178, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 71, do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 253, do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 69, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 219, do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 236, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowser of the 46th. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 252, do pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 84, do pass by substitute. Senate Resolution 143, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mullis of the 53rd. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 209, do pass. House Bill 376, do pass. House Bill 456, do pass. House Bill 490, do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read bills and resolutions for the second time?
Senate Bill 92 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, controlled substances, sale to and by minors of drug products containing dextromethorphan, prohibit. Senate Bill 95 by Senator Ginn of the 47th and others, state government, conditions for meeting and public hearings to be held by teleconference and emergency conditions, provide. Senate Bill 117 by Senator Miller of the 49th and others, Department of Human Services, offenses to improper sexual contact by employee or agent in the first and second degrees, revise. Senate Bill 142 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, lottery for education, lottery game of sports wagering in the state, provide. Senate Bill 152 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, state and other flags, pledge of allegiance to the state flag, add language. Senate Bill 165 by Senator Gooch of the 51st and others, motor vehicles, autonomous vehicles from certain vehicle equipment requirements, exempt. Senate Bill 168 by Senator Walker III of the 20th and others, meetings, corporation may hold annual shareholders meetings and special shareholders meetings by means of remote communication, provide. Senate Bill 195 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, hemp farming, definition, revise. Senate Bill 200 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, emergency powers of the governor. Certain business and religious institutions may continue to resume operations. Certain states of emergency, provide. Senate Bill 203 by Senators Gooch of the 51st and others, motor vehicles, use of mounts on windshields for support of wireless telecommunications devices and standalone electronic devices, allow. Senate Bill 210 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, motor vehicles and traffic, definitions relative to registration and licensing of motor vehicles, provide. Senate Bill 214 by Senator Harper of the 7th and others, governor's emergency powers, matters pertaining to firearms and other weapons, restrict use of emergency powers. Senate Bill 220 by Senator Payne of the 54th and others, the Georgia Civics Renewal Act, enact. Senate Bill 222 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others, state symbols, pecan as the official state nut, designate. Senate Resolution 39 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, Charlotte Nash intersection, Gwinnett County, dedicate. Senate Resolution 102 by Senator Gooch of the 51st and others, Georgia Commission on E-Commerce and Freight Infrastructure Funding, create. Senate Resolution 135 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, sports betting, related matters, provide. House Bill 90 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others, torts, certain persons, firms, or corporations who are buyers of land for conversion of timber shall be exempt from certain liabilities, provide. House Bill 111 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others, financial institutions, clarify and remove superfluous language, provisions. House Bill 134 by Representatives Anderson of the 10th and others, state government, meetings relating to cybersecurity, contracting, and planning from open meeting requirements, exclude. This completes the order, Mr. President.
All right, it's now time for our morning roll call. Afternoon roll call, sorry. Got to adjust the script a little bit. Are there any motions to excuse? Chair recognizes his good friend, the senator from the 33rd, for his list.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, y'all. Good afternoon, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the following senators: the senator from the 19th, 34th, 35th, and 43rd for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senators from the 19th, 34th, 35th, and 43rd are excused. The chair recognizes the senator from Forsyth.
Good morning, Mr. President, who hails from Forsyth County. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 28th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 28th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? The chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Please forgive me, sir. I didn't mean 34th. I meant the 38th.
The record is noted the 38th is excused and the 34th is showed back up. Are there any additional motions to excuse? The chair sees none. The secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted your attendance? Have all senators voted your attendance? Got a thumbs up in the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. It's now time for our morning devotional, and I'd ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversations. Doorkeepers, please secure the chamber at this time. Lock them in. Chair would like to recognize the distinguished rules chairman to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce to us our chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you join me in honoring our country, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And honor our state. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. I know this looks like deja vu to you. You just saw me up here Friday. But we have a former colleague that is here, and not many of us served with him, but I was asked to introduce him, and what an honor. Joseph Carter, former senator from the 13th, is with us today, and his educational experience, he's Georgia Tech, 1981, Bachelor's of Business Administration, Valdosta State, 1986, went to Mercer Law School in 1989, and part of his service to his community, he was on the Tift County Board of Education 2000 to 2024. He served in this body as senator from the 13th again from 2005 to 2009. During that time, he served as Governor Purdue's floor leader and served on Senate Appropriations, Subcommittee Chair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he does an outstanding job in anything he does. And he proposed a piece of legislation today, or back then, that authorized legislation to make it more physically fit. The BMI, obesity. I did take personal offense to this back then. Thought it was singling me out. So I need to tell you about well, we used to call it hazing. Today we call it certifying. When he was in the well, given his proposal, then Senator Steve Thompson of the 33rd District came down here. Remember, it was a bill about obesity, and he put a donut on the podium. And then in a few minutes, some other senator, that'd be me, come down here, and I took a bite of it and put the donut back on the podium. It got somewhat of attention that way, and then, of course, the discussion got real serious, and we had to relent from our certification of the new senator. But he's a great guy. And now he brings people to Jesus. He is a pastor at Homerville United Methodist Church in Homerville, Georgia. His wife is with us, Rebecca, and they have 2 sons. Please give your attention to our former colleague, Joseph Carter.
Good afternoon, and many thanks to my dear friend Senator Mullis for the invitation to be here today. I will admit to you that I was just a bit nervous as I sat over in that chair right before it was my time to step up here, not because of anything I had planned to say to you, but because he was saying things to you. And you just never know quite what you're going to get when Senator Mullis is given the microphone. But to you, Mr. President, thank you very much, and to leadership on both sides. Also great to be here with the Dean of the Senate, to see you again. As I look around the room, I think I counted there are 9 of you that I had the honor to serve with back just 12 years ago when I left my service here. It's great to be with all of you, always great to be with you, and great to see a number of you, colleagues and folks who I've got connections with outside this part of my life. Always great to be with my senator from the 8th District. I'm also reminded of some advice that I received back when I first began serving in this body. We were there in the anteroom, and I was there with former leader Senator Chance. He was standing there, and I was standing there with a cup of coffee, and I had a chocolate donut in one hand. Senator Mullis was beside me. He had chocolate donuts in both hands. And Senator Chance said, "Never miss the pastor of the day." He said, "You never miss the pastor of the day." He was serious. He looked at me very seriously. It sounds a little self-serving now, but he said, "You never miss the pastor of the day, because there may be some little piece, some little golden nugget that you need to hear for what you're going to face that day." It's great advice. I pray that there's a golden nugget for you today. I want to share with you just a minute this afternoon. I want to share with you a great story from the Old Testament book of Esther. Esther was a young maiden. She was brought before the king of Persia along with many other young women. But she was of such incredible beauty, with charm and grace unmatched by all the others, that the king selected her. She stood out, and he selected her. He chose her to be his queen. What he didn't know was that she was a Jew. And Jews were hated. So hated, in fact, that the king had been falsely persuaded to set aside a day, to place a day on the calendar for Jews to be killed, all Jews found within the kingdom. As that day approached, Queen Esther's cousin, Mordecai, came to her and pleaded with her to go before the king and to persuade the king to stop what was about to happen. He says, "You can do it. You of all people can go before the king and stop this madness." She paused at first and began to consider the cost to herself if she dared approach the king with this request. You see, to go into the presence of the king uninvited, to be found with the king having not been summoned by the king, was to be put to death. And if she went before the king with this request, he would know that she was a Jew. She'd give up a lot. She'd give up her security. She would give up her position. She'd give up her comfort. She might even give up her life. But Mordecai admonishes her. He admonishes her, making clear, he says to her, "Esther, your beauty, your grace, your poise were gifts given to you by God." And then we get the money line. We get the money line that you've seen on coffee cups and posters. We get the money line as Mordecai says to her, "These things, your beauty, your grace, your poise, these were given to you by God for such a time as this." For this time. He's saying to her, this cause is bigger than you, Esther. The cause is bigger than you, even if it cost you your life. The cause is bigger than you. It's been a few years, but I remember well what it's like to sit where you sit. The dilemma that you face every day. When you're asked to take a vote and you reach up and there's a red button and there's a green button, and you think to yourself, are those my only choices? Couldn't there be something else? Couldn't there be another button up there for me to choose? I remember what it's like going home at the end of the day feeling just a little bit sick, feeling as if you could have done more. Maybe I could have offered an amendment. Maybe I could have voted no instead of yes. Maybe I could have gone to the well and made a speech. Oh, but it probably wouldn't have made any difference. Maybe I could have taken a stand against my seatmate or my caucus or my party. I'd be willing to bet you that more than one pastor of the day has stood here at this rostrum this year and told you that all authority flows from God. That it's not a mistake that you are here, that you sit in those seats because God chooses all the leaders. And they would be correct. Your presence in this chamber today is not just because you ran a brilliant campaign. And having been chosen by God and gifted with incredible gifts for service, are you simply going to use those for self-preservation? Go along to get along when your people will suffer if you do? Is it comfort? Is it security? Is it position which plays into how you vote? If you speak out, if you offer an amendment, if you go to the well, if you break ranks. You see, this is the message that Mordecai sends to Esther. It's not a call to disorder or rebellion. It's not a call to be an obstructionist, far from it. You see, what Mordecai is doing is calling Esther to authenticity, to be who God designed her to be, to use the gifts that she'd been given for others. I want to encourage you today. I didn't come here to admonish you. It's so good to be here, and I respect you more than you know. But I want to encourage you today to use the gifts that God has given to you for a cause much greater than yourself. You see, as Mordecai called on Esther to stand firm in the face of all that stood against her, I'm here to encourage you to do the very same thing. I guess in a way I'm here today to be your Mordecai. Think about it. Think about it. To have been chosen to lead in the turbulent times in which we live. What a high and holy privilege. To stand up for what is just, to lead in the face of adversity, to show love and compassion with every vote, every bill, every amendment, every word you utter. That's the call that's been placed upon your life for such a time as this. When I had the pleasure of serving my district, and I found myself in the coffee shops and the civic clubs, I would always tell them how proud I was that when this body came together each morning or in the afternoon like today, when this body came together, we would greet each other and then come to order. We would say the pledge to the flag. We would receive a devotion, and then black, white, Hispanic, Asian, men and women, Republican or Democrat, we would all stand together and we would pray. How incredible that is. And it's my honor to ask you at this time to stand with me as we go to God in prayer. But I want to ask you to do something a little bit different today, and I hope for every day forward. Don't simply stand and listen to me pray. For while I have the holy privilege to choose the words of the prayer belongs to us all. So join your heart with mine as we go before God's throne. Father, we come today giving you thanks. Thanks for all the blessings which you pour into our lives, those we recognize and those that we don't. I thank you for these 56 members of this body, for our Lieutenant Governor, for the staff that surrounds them and helps them each day. Father, I thank you for those in the hall, for the vital role that they play in this process. Help us all to be who you called us to be. And we ask it in the precious and holy name of Jesus. Amen.
All right, the Senate will come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair sees none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th for a point of personal privilege. All right, I'll call you up at some. Push your button. Push your other button. Push it so I can. There you go. That'll remind me to call it. Hold on, Senator. We could all give our attention to the senator in the well.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning I was reading in my treasury of quotes on leadership. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Be bold, but not a bully. Be thoughtful, but not lazy. Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without folly. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again experiencing legislators protesting inside the Capitol building. Sure, the First Amendment provides protections for free speech and the right to peaceably assemble, but refusing to yield to the Capitol Police's requests and then getting in their face to incite a riot is unacceptable. In fact, it's shameful. Shame on you for failing to be respectful as a legislator. Maybe a quick reminder of how to act is from Romans 13, 1 through 5. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Some may mock the law enforcement community or those of us that have served in the military. But I tell you this, at least we had the common sense enough to wear earplugs to avoid jeopardizing our hearing when we're on the range or near an audible sound. Only a fool would place their head next to a bullhorn and do so without hearing protection. But then again, that fits the narrative. In closing, my friends, they should not be demanding an apology for our police force. In fact, they should be providing one. Let us support our Capitol Police and other law enforcement by thanking them for doing their job and maintaining law and order in our state for all of us. We as legislators should be focused on getting people vaccinated and back to work rather than seeking cheap theater. With that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, I just stand today to recognize Spelman College. We had Spelman College Day at the Georgia State Capitol, my alma mater, and this morning at 11 o'clock we had a virtual seminar and virtual forum on Spelman College and the issues that we're dealing with at the Georgia State Senate. But I am so proud to recognize Spelman, that was founded in 1881 as the Atlanta Baptist Female Seminary, and then became Spelman College in 1924. Spelman College has long been recognized as the leading educator of women of African descent. It is now named among the top 100 liberal arts colleges in the nation and is one of the most selective women's colleges in the United States. Spelman has continued to rise in the rankings as one of the nation's top colleges by U.S. News and World Report and hold recognition and rankings and awards by Money Magazine. Spelman College has maintained its commitment to her students during the COVID-19 global pandemic by safely hosting fewer on-campus students, offering virtual classes for remote students, rolling back tuition rates to keep costs down, and hosting virtual events and activities for students and alumni. Recognizing today the 10th president of Spelman College, Dr. Mary Smith Campbell, and for her commitment and continued efforts to elevate young women and to attract scholars from around the world to Spelman College in our great state of Georgia. We're hosting this virtual tour this morning with the Georgia chapters of the Alumni Association of Spelman College. And so today we recognize Spelman College and the Atlanta University Center. Thank you very much, and I yield the well, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. You forgot to mention one thing. It's your birthday.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to make sure the record had that. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to add my happy birthday to the senator from the 14th. And you're looking mighty good in that blue today, too. One of the highlights of our legislative session is Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. And unfortunately, COVID has impacted that as well. Today is Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, and they did serve peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but they did it in the Sloppy Floyd towers this morning. But I want to bring to you a resolution commending the Georgia peanut industry and recognizing March 1, 2021 as Peanut Butter and Jelly Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. And I want you to kind of listen to the statistics that are in this resolution, if you will, and you'll have a full appreciation for how important the peanut is to our state's economy. Whereas peanuts and peanut products are recognized throughout our nation and the world as an appetizing and nutritious food providing protein and other nutrients as part of a well-balanced diet, and whereas the state of Georgia leads the United States in peanut production, producing approximately 53% of the total supply in the nation in 2020. 53% from Georgia. Further, our state leads the nation in peanut exports, supplying 51% of the U.S. peanut exports and contributing more than $320 million toward our nation's balance of trade. And whereas peanut production is the largest single cash food row crop in Georgia, with gross farm receipts totaling hundreds of millions of dollars, and whereas more than 250 Georgia companies engaged in warehousing, processing, manufacturing, and marketing totally depend on the peanut industry, and hundreds of other Georgia companies that engage in financing, supplying, distributing, and transporting are dependent to some extent on the peanut industry. And whereas the Georgia peanut industry has played a significant role in the economic growth and prosperity of our state, contributing an estimated $2 billion to the Georgia economy and supporting the livelihood of more than 150,000 Georgians. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the peanut industry for its outstanding contributions to the economic health of the state of Georgia and recognize March 1st, 2021 as Peanut Butter and Jelly Day at the state capitol. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd for a point of personal privilege.
Good morning, colleagues. You guys are so quiet and wow, afternoon.
Don't encourage them.
Okay, I won't. So today I rise to bring recognition and celebration to Women's History Month. The month of March is recognized as Women's History Month and is dedicated to the celebration of everyday women, as well as pillars and pioneers whose accomplishments have allowed for following generations to feel empowered to constantly break barriers. Because we are between celebrating Black history and women's history, today is known as Black Women's History Day. In particular, Black women have been accomplishing the unthinkable for centuries. The month-long celebration of women dates back to 1980, when former President Jimmy Carter issued the first proclamation which declared the week of March 8, 1989 as National Women's History Week, according to the National Women's History Museum. In March of 1987, Congress passed Public Law 100-9, proclaiming March as Women's History Month. Through history, women have driven humanity forward on the path to a more equal and just society, contributing to innumerable ways to our character and progress as a people, said former President Barack Obama in his 2016 Women's History Month presidential proclamation. In the face of discrimination and undue hardship, they have never given up on the promise of America. That with hard work and determination, nothing is out of reach. During Women's History Month, we remember the trailblazers of the past, including the women who are not recorded in our history books, and we honor their legacies by carrying forward the valuable lessons learned from the powerful examples they set. And while this list would obviously be incomplete without the inclusion of Kamala Harris, the first woman and Black woman to be vice president and the highest ranking woman in the history of American government, her impressive accomplishment is among dozens of other achievements that Black women have steadily been realizing for many decades. Donning the colors purple and wearing a string of pearls in tribute to her sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Harris took the pledge while placing her left hand on a Bible that belonged to Thurgood Marshall, the first Black Supreme Court judge. Barbara Jordan, the first Black woman elected into Congress from the South. Bianca Smith, Major League Baseball's first Black woman coach. Mae Jemison, the first Black woman in space. Amanda Gorman, the nation's youngest inaugural poet, who gave a gracious poem at the inauguration. Bessie Coleman, the first Black woman pilot. Melody Hobson, the first Black woman to chair Starbucks board. Mary Jackson, the first Black woman to work for NASA. Misha Ross Porter, the first Black woman to be New York City's school's chancellor. Hattie McDaniel, the first Black woman to win an Academy Award. Jennifer King, the first Black woman to coach an NFL team. Alice Coachman, the first Black woman to win an Olympic gold medal. Oprah Winfrey, the first Black woman billionaire. Madam C.J. Walker, the first Black woman millionaire. Mia DaCosta, the first Black woman to direct a Marvel film. Captain Marvel 2 is set for July 8th, 2022. Mariah Russell is the first Black woman chef to earn a Michelin star. Whoopi Goldberg, the first Black woman to win an Academy Award 1990. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, the first Black woman to become a doctor of medicine in the United States. Serena Williams, the first Black woman to win a career Grand Slam in tennis. Loretta Lynch, the first Black woman to be Attorney General of the United States. Stacey Abrams, the first Black woman to be a major party nominee for state governor. The AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, is the first Black church formed, and the first woman to be ordained was Martha Jane Keyes. First Black woman general officer in the Air Force was Colonel Marcelite J. Harris, and the first Black woman pilot in the Georgia Air National Guard is Andrea Lewis. Women are still making strides, creating history and her story, and we celebrate each of them. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 4th for the purpose of introducing our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor today of introducing the Doctor of the Day from Statesboro. Not only from Statesboro, she's also a Rotarian with me in a morning Rotary Club, and is also a neighbor of mine. Dr. Michelle Zena. She specializes in behavioral pediatrics, and I think you'll be very interested in hearing about her. Dr. Michelle Zena attended Mercer University School of Medicine and completed a residency in general pediatrics at the University of Florida at Jacksonville. In 2016, Dr. Zena left a successful career in general pediatrics to follow her passion and focus on serving the children who need her the most. Her practice focuses exclusively on behavioral pediatrics. She provides care to children from Dublin to Savannah and Augusta to Folkestone. Dr. Zena has held multiple leadership positions in professional organizations like East Georgia Physicians Group, Ogeechee River Medical Society, Medical Association of Georgia, and Georgia chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. She also serves on the state DFACS, Department of Family and Children's Services Advisory Board, and chairs the Georgia Physicians Leadership Academy. In 2018, Dr. Zena started Behavioral Pediatrics Resource Center. It's a 501c3 providing educational workshops, training, and resources benefiting children diagnosed with autism, ADHD, or some other type of anxiety. It serves families, teachers, and communities in rural Georgia. She trained in general pediatrics in Jacksonville, then settled in Bullitt County. 5 years ago, she refocused her medical practice to concentrate on children with behavioral health needs like autism. Her practice quickly grew, and then, of course, as we well know, COVID-19 hit. And with the closing of many businesses across the state, Dr. Zena moved her business outdoors instead of closing her practice. Employees were given new job descriptions. Instead of being laid off, she saw patients in her parking lot, then by gradually then doing it by telemedicine. Despite the pandemic, Dr. Zena never stopped caring for patients. She has actually added 5 full-time employees in the past 12 months. Thank you, Dr. Michelle Zena, for being our physician of the day. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 11th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the father of a post-certified law enforcement officer who is also the mother of my only granddaughter, unfortunately I have news that I know my family never wanted to hear. We lost a law enforcement officer this weekend in line of duty in my community, and I wanted to read the press release that Sheriff Wiley Griffin released a couple of hours ago. Sheriff Griffin is deeply saddened to announce to the community the passing of Lieutenant Justin Bedwell. Lieutenant Bedwell succumbed to injuries that were sustained in the line of duty on Saturday, February 27th in Brinson, Georgia. He was assisting Seminole County Sheriff's Office in a high-speed chase when shots were fired at both sheriff deputies. Lieutenant Bedwell was a 19-year veteran of the Decatur County Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Bedwell was a patrol commander, a training officer, and a highly valued member of the command staff of Decatur County Sheriffs. He trained many of the younger deputies that currently work for that department. Lieutenant Bedwell will be truly missed, and we are devastated by his passing. Please continue to pray for his family, the Decatur County Sheriff's Office, and our community. Mr. President, I would request a moment of silence so that our body could honor this gentleman.
Senator has asked us to rise and offer a moment of silence.
Amen.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 2nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I rise to bring recognition and celebration of Women's History Month. All throughout this month, we will recognize and honor great trailblazers in our past. We will honor great trailblazers in Georgia and around this great country. Today I rise to bring recognition to a living history maker, a servant of the people of Georgia. This recognition is for Dr. Lavinia Raines. Dr. Lavinia Raines was installed the 152nd president of the Georgia Dental Association, the premier professional organization of dentists in this great state. Because of her status as a servant, this well-respected member of the dental community has a long-standing history of service, has a long-standing history of being a health care provider. And this year, she was elected the first female African-American president of the Georgia Dental Association. Now, Dr. Raines was born in a small town in New Hannah, Georgia. where she graduated valedictorian of her class at Bradley County High School. She was an honor graduate of Georgia Southern University and graduated from Medical College of Georgia with a degree in Doctor of Dental Medicine. From there, she went on to practice dentistry for 30 years in Augusta, Georgia. She is a fellow of the American College of Dentistry, a fellow of the International College of Dentists, and the Pierre Fauchard Academy, as well as an honorary fellow of the Georgia Dental Association. Because of her noble character, she's not merely a dentist, she's a leader. As a skilled dentist and her leadership, Dr. Raines was recognized both in the Augusta area and throughout the state of Georgia for her commitment to service, for her commitment to community, her commitment to patients, and a passion for providing dental care to low-income, rural, underserved patients throughout the state of Georgia. Dr. Raines continued to serve as a steward for future dentists. She has been named an alumnus of the year by both the Medical College of Georgia and Georgia Southern University. There's a quote I'd like to leave you. I've learned that people will forget what you said. I've learned that people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Dr. Raines made people feel good. Dr. Raines was a healer and a servant of the people of this great state. So on today, we commend Dr. Raines for reminding people she never forgot how to make people feel good. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator, the Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. Only in America, there's a guy in my community that was a bigger-than-life personality. Y'all have all known those kind of people, the kind of person that commanded a room, the kind of person that he was the life of the party. He kept everybody moving in the right direction. There's a guy in my community that has those characteristics. It was the late Jim Walters, Big Jim. Everywhere in the state, I would go and people say, I don't care if I was in Columbus or Augusta or Macon or Savannah or Chickamauga or Dahlonega or North Fulton or wherever. People say, hey, how's Big Jim? Have you seen Big Jim? Bigger than life personality. He was the most generous, caring, compassionate individual I think I have ever known. I have to tell you, there's a little school there in Gainesville called Challenge Child, and it was a school for disabled children, and pandemic hit it extra hard, and the pandemic hit it, and they didn't have revenue, no students coming in. They had to keep paying their teachers, and one of the people on the board called me and said, hey, we're in a real bind. What do you think we need to do? And I said, well, how bad is it? He said, well, we're going to be out of money at the end of the month. So my wife and I, we decided we'd make a financial commitment. I was going to get 9 other people to call and get a financial commitment for them. We'll get 10 people to give $10,000 apiece. Big Jim was the third call I made. I said, Jim, can you give $10,000? He said, $10,000? Yeah, what's your plan? I said, I want to raise $100,000 for them, kind of get them through over this rough spot, and I think they'll be okay after that. He said, you raise your $100,000 and I'll match it. The only person to ever give $1 million gift to Riverside Academy, to Brenau University, to Gainesville College, back in the heyday days when they were just getting rolling, was Big Jim. The individual that built the YMCA and paid for the YMCA in Gainesville, Georgia, was Big Jim. The person who built the Boys and Girls Club, who was the lead donor, the lead gift for the Boys and Girls Club, was Big Jim. He was bigger than life in our community. Everybody that knew him loved him, and when you were with Jim, you thought you were his best friend. Everybody thought that. He got 1 million best friends. And he'd always say, only in America. Only in America, he'd say, can a guy like me, whose father died when I was 13, the oldest of 4 boys, only in America can a guy like me rise to success. He'd say, only in America? What a country. He was a capitalist. I can't tell you how many businesses that he incubated in Gainesville. I can't tell you how many businesses he incubated all over the state. Dublin, Georgia. He had a little office in Dublin, Georgia. He was paying $75 a month for rent. Am I over the bill? $75 a month, and a lady called him and said, I want to sell the building. He said, okay, what do you want for it? She said, $150,000. He said, $150,000? I'm only paying $75 a month. She said, oh, no, I mean for the whole block. And in Dublin, they got the skyscraper. It's 6 stories. Big Jim was bigger than life, and he was good to everybody he met. May he rest in peace. And would you please join me in a moment of silence?
Please rise for a moment of silence.
For Big Jim Walters. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair's going to take a quick point of personal privilege just to brag on Augusta University and their great work. Of course, they're the only public academic medical center here in Georgia, and they have done such an incredible job in and around COVID-19, first with testing protocols and now with vaccination rollouts. I had the opportunity to travel with the senators from the 1st and the 23rd this week, or last week, back to Augusta, and we went to a couple of different vaccination sites as an opportunity to promote those vaccination sites for those local communities. One of those stops was at Good Shepherd Baptist Church, and I was so blown away at this intersection of what I like to call the 4 C's. Churches, charities, corporations, and citizens all merged together to produce a vaccination site at this church that just continues to do great work and continues to work across all types of community barriers and lines as they distribute this much-needed vaccine. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Keel and the entire Augusta University for really coordinating so much of this. I want to thank the community partners and the private sector partners that continue to show up when we need them the most as we navigate our way through this difficult pandemic. So thank you for all your great work, and all of us are grateful. All right, we're going to move on. You've got a consent calendar of privilege resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? The chair sees none. Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Chair sees none. Hears none. You have a consent calendar of local bills before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed to any bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Government, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The questions on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got a thumbs up in the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 49, the nays are 1, and the bills having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. All right, we're going to move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 140?
Senate Bill 140 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to state, flag, seal, and other symbols so as to provide for placement of a monument in honor of the Honorable Zell Bryan Miller upon the Capitol grounds of the state capitol. The Senate Committee on State Institutions and Property recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbison of the 15th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the extremely busy Rules Chairman to present Senate Bill 140.
Isn't that amazing? Let me pull this off here. Mr. President, it's a great day in the state capitol and in the state Senate. I have another excellent bill for you, another primo bill from you. And I want to thank several people before I get started. First, the senator from the 41st who helped me get this bill out of committee. Thank you. Senator from the 15th for working with me on this bill, and we passed last year, and I'll explain that in a moment. Senator from the 50th, because it's his district in which this great gentleman is from. Senator from the 51st, who is also, we always took credit for having him in his district when John Wilkinson was here, just to give him a hard time. But this is about the man who gave us hope, the Hope Scholarship. He is a state senator. He was a lieutenant governor. He is a governor, and he is a United States senator. Zell Miller was everything to a lot of people. But he passed the lottery years ago that has sent thousands and thousands of people to get higher education that may never have had a chance, ever. And this bill simply creates a commission that is devised of people in the Senate and the House, members of the majority party and the minority party, to be a part of putting this statue on the grounds. Of course, there are many aspects to that. It's all covered in the bill, but this is a bill that I think we can all be proud of again, the man who gave us Hope Scholarship. Mr. President, it's that simple. I'll be glad to answer questions if there are any, or I yield the well and ask you for your vote on this.
The senator has yielded the well.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th. He waves. Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 140? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agree to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? The hallway looks clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 80?
Senate Bill 80 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the OCGA relating to insurance so as to provide for standards for utilization review. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th. Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 80, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the OCGA relating to insurance so as to provide additional standards for utilization review. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd to speak to Senate Bill 80.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow Senators, Senate Bill 80 is a consumer protection bill that addresses a problem for Georgia's patients and medical providers. The bill attempts to add transparency and reasonable guardrails to the complicated process of getting approval for medical treatments, tests, drugs, and surgery. The process is very time-consuming for physicians and other healthcare professionals and often delays medical care. I'm sure that everyone in this room and watching these proceedings has experience with this process. This bill does not argue whether the policy of prior authorization is a good or bad idea, saves anyone money, or helps or hinders medical care. The bill simply attempts to establish some rules of the game for the process. It establishes reasonable response times for urgent and elective situations. It also calls for making the guidelines used for determination available to the healthcare professional asking for the approval, as well as basic qualifications for the people making the decisions. And it requires that the statistics related to this process are available for review. This complex bill, over 20 pages, has been thoroughly vetted, and many changes have been incorporated into this substitute. I've met with many stakeholders on both sides of this issue, including not only the providers trying to get treatment approved for their patients, but the insurers, public and private, as well as the agencies involved in the process. I've gotten a lot of useful feedback from both sides, and I've incorporated many suggestions. I especially appreciate the help of the Medical Association of Georgia and the other 25-plus organizations who are supporting this bill. I also appreciate the help from the Insurance Commissioner and his staff and the Department of Community Health in improving the bill. All of us and our families will be patients needing treatment at some point. So on behalf of the patients of Georgia, I ask your favorable consideration. Happy to answer any questions, or I will yield the will.
You have no questions.
Thank you, I yield.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 80? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 82?
Senate Bill 82 by Senator Al of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to emergency medical services so as to clarify that the prudent layperson standard is not affected by the final diagnosis given. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th. Senate Insurance and Labor Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 82, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to emergency medical services so as to clarify that the prudent layperson standard is not affected by the final diagnosis given. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th. Let me see all the way in the back there. Freshman senator from the 48th. To present Senate Bill 82. Just as a reminder, I think we've got 30 minutes for debate.
You don't have to use it all. Thank you, Mr. President. And yes, this is my first bill. Giddy up. Let's go. Take this off. Everyone's so ready for this. It's very exciting. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to my colleagues for allowing me to present Senate Bill 82, which is a patient protection bill which seeks to clarify insurance coverage of emergency medical care, which is something that we all could need sometime. This is a bipartisan bill. It's a very straightforward bill, and it closes a harmful loophole, and with your favorable consideration today, we could really help a lot of patients. So first, I want to frame the scope of the problem that we'd be solving together. So for the past few years, we've been hearing in the media and in our own communities from our constituents about this phenomenon of insurance companies denying claims for emergency medical care when they, the insurance companies, decide after the fact that the patients presenting symptoms or concerns don't qualify as emergencies. So let's be clear about what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about patients driving in to the ER with a hangnail or with stuffy noses, right? I'm talking about patients brought in with crushing chest pain. I'm talking about patients with broken bones after car accidents and domestic abuse. I'm talking about patients with gunshot wounds and patients in critical sickle cell crisis necessitating hospitalization. These are examples of real claims denied by insurance companies that reviewed patient records afterwards and determined that these reasons did not meet the correct threshold for emergency care. So just very quickly, because it's important to this bill, let's talk about the prudent layperson standard, which is the legal precedent on which this legislation, SB 82, is based. The prudent layperson standard requires insurers to cover services where a, quote, rational person without professional or specialized knowledge in medicine would believe their conditions to be one of many emergency medical conditions. For example, heart attack, stroke, severe injury, threatening bodily function, and the like. The skill set of a medical professional, particularly in the emergency room, is to identify and evaluate these dangerous symptoms, work them up, and treat them when they're found, and provide reassurance if the symptoms are thankfully determined to be non-life-threatening. But lots of times, and we know this, even upon presentation to the emergency department, even the medical staff cannot determine or delineate immediately between a life-threatening emergency or another condition. That's in fact why patients go to the emergency room in the first place, to allow medical professionals to do this workup and make those determinations when they're there. It's really not reasonable for insurance companies to expect patients without specialized medical knowledge, let alone access to laboratory and other diagnostic facilities, to make these determinations on their own. It's not fair to patients to flip to the last page of the story in the chart, read the answer, and say, well, you should have known better than to go in. So in 2018, the Georgia House of Representatives commissioned a study report into this very issue of retroactive emergency claims being denied by insurance companies. And this report from 2018, from right across the hall, found many instances in which the insurance company's own metrics were violated and the prudent layperson standard was met, but the claims were still denied. So in the words of this House study report, which was also bipartisan, quote, Georgia legislators should consider response to harmful ER policies and the challenges outlined in this report to prevent patients from unfairly carrying the costs of emergency medical services. This is exactly what my bill aims to do, to close this loophole in the current insurance code and ensure that these qualified claims are covered regardless of final diagnosis. And I'm going to just repeat that part again, regardless of final diagnosis, because that's really the key to this bill. So let's walk through the bill. This is going to be short because the clarifications to the current insurance code are very straightforward. No one be freaked out that the bill is 17 pages long. The actual meat of it is very short. So all this bill has done was to add this language, quote, regardless of final diagnosis, to 6 sections in the current insurance code. And I can walk you through which lines those are. I don't necessarily think you're interested in it, but I have all those lines if you want to walk through it with me. There was also one substitution to this bill, which was very minor. It was a single word edit in line 58, which just changed the word, quote, disposition to the word diagnosis, and that was just to ensure that the terminology was consistent throughout the entire bill. So bringing this back to the real world where we live. And in closing, there are two harms incurred when insurance companies deny coverage for emergency medical care. So the first harm that we've talked about is that patients are unfairly burdened with the debilitating cost of this care, right? We understand that. But the second harm is that future patients hearing about this phenomenon in the news, from watching this body, hesitate from seeking urgent or emergent care because they worry that they could be the next patient in the story, that they might also have to shoulder these costs unfairly. So in the words of the House Committee report, quote, "If illness and injuries are left undiscovered due to fear of using health insurance, then it would appear that the policyholders do not have insurance coverage at all and have been paying their premiums essentially for no service." So I think this is an important clarification. Closes a loophole, as I mentioned, that has burdened and injured many patients in the state of Georgia. And so I ask for your favorable consideration of SB 82. I've only been here a month and a half, but I know that's the green button. Green is good. Green means yes. Smash that like button. And together, I hope we can help a lot of people. And with that, if you give me a second to put on my helmet and my pads, I will yield for questions.
Just to confirm, you yield.
I guess so. Yes, I yield for questions.
Let's lead us in a
Bring
word
it.
of prayer for a moment. Chair recognizes the pro tem.
Oh, it's
The senator yield.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Would you repeat that, please? The whole thing.
I can, or I could just give you the transcript and you can read it.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, absolutely.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, I yield.
You were congratulations on your first bill, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
We haven't voted yet.
That's true. That's why we're asking you these questions. The senator does yield. I was reading your legislation where you talked about this legislation would clarify the prudent layperson standard. We have standards and we try and be prudent here. But I have a series of questions for you. Number one, were you prudent when 9 out of 10 patients of yours who received an injection were done by you in vain?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, Senator?
Does the senator further yield?
I do.
Were you prudent when you started to help a patient with amnesia and forgot how it goes?
I believe I'm always prudent in the practice of medicine. I like to believe so.
Will the senator yield for another question?
Absolutely.
Were you prudent when you heard about one of your patients' whole left side was damaged, and you said he'll be all right now?
Senator, I do not believe that that was my patient, but I would be happy to take care of him or her the next time they come in for care.
Well, I'm going to sit down because the senator from the 18th told me not to quit my day job and try and be a comedian.
You're so good at it is the thing.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 7th to your right.
To my right. Uh-oh.
Sometimes hard to see over there.
I'll get you back. Thank you, Mr. President. Will the distinguished freshman senator yield?
I will.
In this, is it not true that in this body that we do everything that we can to be truthful in the legislation that we present and the legislation that we bring forward? Is that not true?
Senator, I hope that is the case.
Amen. So I'm just curious as to why you may or may not have mentioned on line 160 the change that we're making there.
Line 160. All right, let me pull this up. I see. The senator brings up an excellent point, and this change was actually so minor that I did not bring it up, but thank you for catching it because I want to make sure that everyone is aware of this important change.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody in this body knows that what all the changes that we're making in the underlying bill, is it not true that that's what we just want to make sure that that's accurate?
Absolutely, and it becomes more accurate with the change, so thank you for pointing that out. Accuracy is what we strive for.
Does the senator further yield?
Absolutely.
Can you tell this distinguished body what ZIP stands for?
Oh my goodness, it stands for Zone of Improved something.
It's pretty good. You're getting
Zone
there.
of
How about
improved-
zone improvement plan? How about I help you out?
Zone Improvement Plan.
That was very well
Zip code.
done. Very well done.
It's close, 2 out of 3.
Well, thank you, Senator, for clarifying that and making sure that this body knows everything that's in your bill and all the changes that you're making. Thank you for bringing this forward, and I wish you your giddy up well. Mr. President, thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th for a question.
Would the senator yield for a series of serious questions?
Yes, always.
Oh, well, thank you. Senator, are you familiar with our rules of the Georgia State Senate, this rule book?
I'm probably could be more familiar, but I have read through them.
Senator, have you read the rules?
Have I read the rules?
Yes.
I have read through the book. I can't say that I've memorized every part of it, but I tried to keep up with the rules.
Senator, are you familiar with the Code of Ethics, Part 4, that deals with Section 1-4-2, personal financial gain?
I do not believe I have memorized that part of the code, but I am certainly glad that the book exists at my desk so I can refer to it whenever I need to look
Senator,
at it.
further you?
Absolutely.
Senator, what is your occupation?
I am an anesthesiologist.
Anesthesiologist.
That is correct.
Is there any way that you could benefit financially from Senate Bill 82?
Well, this bill more clarifies to cover emergency medical care in the emergency medical department, where I don't usually work. But my goal of the bill is to protect patients. So the goal is not a physician protection bill. The goal is to be a patient protection bill, and it is also supported by 41 patient advocacy groups throughout the state of Georgia.
But thank you, Senator. Senator, further yield?
Absolutely.
Senator, are you familiar with Code Section 1-4-.4?
I would ask the
That
senator
deals
to
with
read through it.
conflicts of interest?
I would love for you to read through it, and I would be more familiar.
Well, I'm just asking the question, are you familiar just with conflicts of interest and whether or not this bill will present a conflict of interest for someone like yourself?
Absolutely, and usually before medical conferences when we present, we do have to disclose if we have any conflicts of interest before our presentation. I do not have any conflicts of interest relative to this particular bill.
Good answer, Senator. Senator, further yield, one final
Yes,
question.
absolutely.
Senator, are you familiar with Code Section 1-4.7, sexual harassment?
I believe
Sexual
I
harassment?
I believe I had to take a module educating me on how to not do that. So yes, I'm somewhat familiar with it.
Senator, since you're so familiar with it, is that the reason why you put prudent layperson in here?
I believe the senator is confusing his terms, but I appreciate that input.
Thank you, Senator. I yield.
Sir.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes.
Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from Macon for a question. He's a lawyer.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, congratulations on the presentation of your first bill. Do you yield?
Yes, I
Do you
do.
yield? You had said in your opening remarks that this bill presented the standard of a rational person. Is that term defined in your bill, rational person?
The term itself, rational person, is not defined in the bill, but it is the basis on which the insurance code is based. So no, that is not defined as such, but I believe that that's a sort of general presumption in many areas of the law, though I would love to be educated more by my distinguished lawyer colleague about that.
Well, further yield, Senator?
Absolutely.
Maybe so. I don't know. So the rational person standard that you're discussing would be distinguished from the irrational person standard, correct?
I don't believe there is an irrational person standard, but yes, that would be the counter argument.
So what would be your definition of an irrational person?
I would say an irrational person would be a person who makes decisions not based in their own best interest.
And you're a freshman, Senator, correct?
That is correct.
And let me ask you, have you met any irrational people in this chamber since you've been here?
I believe, Senator, that everyone in this chamber is highly rational, highly intelligent, and if I may say, extremely good looking.
Have you met everybody so far?
So based on your own definition, I guess, would you have an answer as to whether or not who in your caucus would meet that standard of an irrational person by name? But you need to give the number, not the name, Senator.
Senator, I don't believe that anyone in my caucus meets the standard of an irrational person, and they are also very good looking.
Senator, you're going to do well here. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That was the intersection of law and medicine right there.
That's exactly right.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 56th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true you mentioned earlier you were an anesthesiologist? Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. I love the pain.
Is that why you're wearing your white coat today, to intimidate us? Is that true?
Whoa, I didn't even notice that, but I suppose one could construe that as a tip of the hat to the profession, so sure.
And Senator, will you further yield?
Absolutely.
What exactly does an anesthesiologist do? Can you explain that to this body?
Absolutely. An anesthesiologist takes care of patients in all phases of the perioperative process. So we take care of patients before, during, and after surgery in the recovery room. We also cover anesthesia and sedation services all over the hospital, including in the ICU, sometimes in the emergency room, and really anywhere in the hospital where we are needed.
Senator?
Yes.
Would you yield further?
Of course.
Isn't it true you put people to sleep?
I do, and more importantly, I wake them up. I think I get paid to wake people up more.
Senator, will you further yield?
Of course.
Isn't it true that the pro tem was afraid you were putting us to sleep at the beginning of your...
Senator, it doesn't look like anyone is asleep right now. So.
Senator, will you yield for two more very important questions?
Of course, always.
Would you remind this august body what district you represent?
I represent District 48, right next door to yours.
District 48.
Correct.
And this is serious now. Are you ready?
Serious business, always.
Are you a former federal prosecutor?
Senator,
Let
I
us
don't
know.
believe...
Answer the question. Don't delay.
I think I get that joke. I think I wasn't here when it was relevant.
Chair would like to know if you have a
I'm
fiscal
not.
note.
Well done.
This is unrelated to me.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd for a question.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Will the
There he
senator
is.
from the 48th yield?
Absolutely.
You know, in 1997, Texas put out a standard for a prudent layperson, and a lot of us like what Texas does out there. 2006, New York put out their standard for a prudent layperson. Now, some of us may vote one way or the other on your bill depending on which one your definition is closer to. Can you tell me which one your definition is closer to?
I'm not familiar with the differences in the prudent layperson standard between Texas and New York, but I believe that generally speaking, a prudent layperson standard is generalizable to what I explained in the beginning, which is a person
So will the
without...
senator
yeah.
yield then?
Absolutely.
So you're on both sides of the fence then on this one.
Wow. He went there.
I'm
I
seeing a
think-
pattern here. Do you continue to yield?
I didn't even answer it. Okay. Yes, I continue to yield.
Chair
No.
recognizes the senator
No?
from the 2nd for a question.
Senator, do you yield?
Always.
Senator, wouldn't it be true that now's the time to yield a will?
If it pleases the body, I would love to end the pain. Thank you so much. The green button.
With that, does any other senator want to speak for or against Senate Bill 82? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Must be a freshman thing. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption to Senate Bill 169.
Senate Bill 169 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 10 of Title 13 of the OCGA, relating to general provisions regarding contracts for public work, Code Section 32-2-70 of the OCGA relating to bonds of successful bidder. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Berg of the 11th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to speak to Senate Bill 169. And he's not a freshman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues. Contractor surety bond is what this bill deals with. And a surety bond is a three-party contract by which the surety, normally an insurance company, guarantees the performance or obligation of a second party, and in this case, of a contractor, a construction company. Under the Governor's state of emergency, public state of emergency executive order, one of his executive orders was to require the acceptance of digital signatures and digital seals on surety bonds for construction projects. And this bill, and this worked very, very well, and this bill would codify that executive order so that we would continue after the state of emergency is over to be able to utilize that. It's an efficient way of doing business. We already do that with probate or court bonds. This was supported by the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Associated General Contractors of Georgia, and the Georgia Municipal Association, and we've checked with the Board of Regents, Georgia State Financing Investment Commission, American Property Casualty Insurance Association, Travelers Insurance Group, Secretary of State's office, the Governor's office, the Lieutenant Governor's office, and the Attorney General's office, and the Department of Transportation, and all of those people are fine with this bill, so I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If not, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 169? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. We're going to take up the adjournment resolution here in between bills. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 264 by Representative Burns of the 159th, a resolution relative to meetings and adjournments of the General Assembly and for other purposes. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, this is the resolution that we talked about last Friday. It got out of the House well after we had adjourned for the day, so it's brought to us today. No changes from what we talked about last Friday. You see the dates on there, with the crossover being on March 8th. And the other date that most people are most concerned about is day 40th would be on March 31st. Subject to your questions.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for your favorable vote, and I yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the resolution? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the resolution? All those in favor of the resolution vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. The resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption to Senate Bill 185.
Senate Bill 185 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 48 of the OCGA, relating to state administrative organizations, administration and enforcement of revenue and taxation, so as to require that all questions of law decided by a court or the Georgia Tax Tribunal on matters arising from the State Board of Equalization and matters arising from refunds and appeals of state administration of Title 48 be decided without difference or to determinations or interpretations of the Department of Revenue. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Man, this freshman class is busy this year. Chair recognizes the senator from the 50th to present Senate Bill 185.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a taxpayer and small business owner, it's my pleasure to bring Senate Bill 185, which attempts to level the playing field for taxpayers in the state of Georgia. As it stands now, taxpayers challenging administrative interpretations of Georgia tax laws face an uphill battle due to the fact that a federal judicial doctrine often requires Georgia courts, including the tax tribunal, to defer to the Department of Revenue's interpretation of ambiguous laws and regulations, even if the taxpayer's interpretation is better. This bill would eliminate this formulaic deference to the Department of Revenue's interpretations, which have not been subject to public comment or legislative review, thereby allowing qualified judges to better exercise their duties to interpret the laws and fulfill the mission of the Georgia Tax Tribunal as an impartial forum. This is a good bill for Georgians. This is a good pro-business bill for the state of Georgia, taxpayers, and for those reasons I ask for your favorable consideration.
Do you yield for questions?
Yes, I do.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 7th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a little loud.
It works.
It does. Does the distinguished senator from the 50th yield?
I do.
Well, is this your second bill on the floor?
Yes, it is.
Good deal. And is it not true that you just have your first bill on the floor on Friday?
That is true.
That's pretty quick. So my question is how do you as a freshman, and you were the first freshman, I believe, on the floor with the second bill, is that correct?
First freshman with a second bill.
First freshman with a second bill. So how is it that you as a freshman got a second bill the next legislative day on the floor? You know, I think some of us may be wondering, do you have an inside track, an unfair advantage on the rest of your colleagues in this body? Do you bunk or live or room with the rules chairman or something? I mean...
I'll tell you, I think I've got some really good bills, and it does help to know the rules chairman.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just trying to learn, and I'm sure my other colleagues are as well, how we can get some of our other bills on the floor, and we appreciate your insight on that. Thank you very much.
They've got a couch open if you want to bunk with them. Chair recognizes your roommate, the distinguished rules chairman.
Oh, boy.
Senator Yield.
Yes, I do.
And thank you, Mr. President, for clearing that up, that we are roommates. We don't live together. Isn't that true?
That is true.
All right, thank you. Now, also, let me ask you, your predecessor was real big at being in the FFA. Is that true?
That is true.
Now, is it true that are you a member of the FFA?
I'm not.
Well, then are you the member of the FFBA?
I'm trying my best. I'm trying my hardest to become a member of the
Now,
FFBA.
you know what the FFBA is?
The senator knows of what he speaks.
Senator Yield.
Yes, I do.
Yep, that did it. You have no more questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Any other senators wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 185? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Moving right along. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 235?
Senate Bill 235 by Senator Watson of the 1st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to revise the offense of wearing a mask, hood, or device which conceals the identity of the wearer. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st. Health and Human Services offers the following committee to Senate Bill 235, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to revise the offense of wearing a mask, hood, or device which conceals the identity of the wearer. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 1st to present Senate Bill 235.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here presenting Senate Bill 235. This bill has to do with emergency orders by Governor Kemp. that he had to enact, because in the past it was illegal to wear a mask in public with the intent of threatening, intimidating, provoking, actless disregard, or heedless of indifference to the rights and safety of others, with the exceptions of sporting activities or being in the theater or Mardi Gras or masquerade balls or gas masks or things like that. But so during the pandemic, the governor had to do emergency orders to allow us to wear masks to make sure that was okay. So what happens when those emergency orders go away? Those emergency orders go away, we go back to the original law. And this law was taken to the Georgia Supreme Court back a few years ago and was upheld, in that the state of Georgia did have the right and the responsibility to require that you cannot wear a mask on public property or on private property without the written permission of that owner. That was targeted to certain groups in our state, and that was ruled legal in the state of Georgia. So what this bill does is, if you'll look, it allows, we did do some cleanup language. That's what's in the first part of the bill. And then the very last part of the bill is it will be okay to wear a mask for another exception, and that will be if your physician or healthcare agency asks you to wear a mask. In other words, if someone who's had chemotherapy and their immune system may be low, you would ask them to wear a mask to prevent infectious disease or catching some illness. Or in our situation with the pandemic, if COVID is still floating around, so to speak, and emergency orders are over, it would certainly be fine for you to wear a mask. Or maybe in the future, we'll be more attuned to wearing a mask maybe during flu season. Maybe when somebody comes into my office and I see them, should they be wearing a mask and should I be wearing a mask? Probably so. So this allows that. This cleans up that language and allows for masks to be worn in, from a healthcare perspective. Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you very much.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 235? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing in the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted their machines? Have all senators voted? Hallways clear? There we go. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 114?
Senate Bill 114 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 43 of the OCGA relating to general provisions relative to professions and businesses, so as to revise the grounds for refusing to grant or revoking a license. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th to present Senate Bill 114.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, I want to first recognize our former Governor Nathan Deal and the courage he had when he started criminal justice reform here in Georgia. And I firmly believe that criminal justice reform must continue, that it doesn't stop with one term or two terms by a particular governor, lieutenant governor, or state senator. It's something that we need to continue to work on to make our state stronger and a better place to live for all of us, in a place that is known as just, and a place that's known as giving those who deserve a second chance a second chance. And I believe that's exactly what Senate Bill 114 does. In this bill, we amend Chapter 1 of Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, in order to let men and women who have completed the incarceration portion of their sentence, and when they're released out on probation, that if they have the ability to obtain a professional license outside of prison, or if they have obtained a professional license in prison, or if they possessed a professional license prior to being arrested and incarcerated, as long as that license they had prior was not associated with the felony for which they were convicted, then the day they come out of prison, they should be able to go to work and pursue good work, good paying work, that they can take care of themselves and take care of their families if need be. And so I think this is great legislation. I think we continue pushing the train of criminal justice reform forward in the great state of Georgia, and I would really appreciate your support on this legislation. Mr. President, I'll yield for any questions.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 41st for a question.
Senator, do you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, isn't it true that this gives people a second chance to get a job quickly after they're released from prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, do you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true that particularly first responders like EMTs, that we are in need of more of those in this state, and this will provide an avenue for us to get more EMTs?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate this bill.
Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 114? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Got a thumbs up in the hallway? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 112?
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 25 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to life insurance, so as to require annual notification to policy owners and requested beneficiaries of the existence of such policies, to require insurers to review the National Association of Insurance Commissioners' life insurance policy locator on a quarterly basis. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th. Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 112, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 25 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to life insurance, so as to require annual notification to policy owners and requested beneficiaries of the existence of such policies, to require insurers to review the National Association of Insurance Commissioners' life insurance policy locator on an annual basis. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th to present Senate Bill 112.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members, welcome this afternoon. This bill has been through our chamber once before, but got killed out or died out in the House. And what it has to do is with two parts. One is a paid-up life insurance policy that once it's paid up, that an annual statement continues to be sent out on an annual basis. I have a copy here of a policy that was written in 1966, paid up in 20 years, and a statement was created after this 20th year. The owner, her father, had been dead for 14 years, and she found it in his paperwork, and there was a policy that he had bought on her. And I just think that an annual statement is appropriate to let that person know that. The second part is, you may not know, if you have someone who's looking for a life insurance policy, we have a national locator that you can go through the Georgia Commissioner of Insurance, and you can link into that. But it is totally voluntary from a standpoint of the carriers. They do not have to, there's no mandatory. And what we did, we went from quarterly to annual, that they're to check that. And what it does is that if you have a loved one or someone that passes away and they're hunting a life insurance policy from a company that has been issued in Georgia, they can simply go in, put the information in, and they at least are to report that back to you within 90 days from that standpoint. So what it does, it makes it from voluntary to any insurance company that does business in the state of Georgia. She'll check that list. And I think it's good consumerism. I will tell you, on the smaller policies, it's people who do not have the legal capability or financial capability, and I think it's a great protection for the citizens of Georgia. And I'm like this, even though it didn't make it last year, I said it's worth fighting for those people that we represent. So that's what it is, sir. Any questions? I guess.
You have no questions.
Thank you so much for your paper.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 112? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallways clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Okay, the chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the rules be suspended to allow the first reading and referral of Senate Bills 272 and 276.
Mr. Secretary, please read the captions.
Senate Bill 272 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to Department of Community Affairs so as to create the Racial Equity and Reconciliation Commission of Georgia. This completes the order, Mr. President. Senate Bill 276 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 15 of Title 36 of the OCGA relating to county law libraries so as to allow county governing authorities to authorize the charging and collection of law library fees in county recorders courts and magistrate courts. This completes the order, Mr. President.
The majority leader has asked for unanimous consent that the rules be suspended to allow the first reading and referral of Senate Bills 272 and Senate Bill 276. Is there objection? Chair hears none and assigns Senate Bill 272 to Government Oversight and Senate Bill 276 to Judiciary. Chair continues to recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 1 p.m. on Wednesday, 3 March 2021.
Mr. Secretary, please read your announcements.
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450. Ethics Committee will meet at 3 p.m. in room 307 CLOB. On March 2nd, the Ethics Committee will meet at 8 a.m. in room 307 CLOB. Judiciary Committee will meet at 9 a.m. in room 307 CLOB. Natural Resources and Environment will meet at 10 a.m. in room 450. Finance will meet at 12 in room 450. And Health and Human Services will meet at 2:15 in room 450. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Does any senator wish to make an announcement? Oh, Mr. Secretary.
Since we decided to convene at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the Wednesday afternoon committee meetings have been canceled, and so take a look at the schedule and the website to see what committee meetings will be meeting on Wednesday morning.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 at 1 p.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes actually have it. The Senate stands adjourned.